If your plane is crashing into the water, just know that flight attendants are trained to not allow any dead bodies on life rafts. That means no saving grandma for her funeral, simply yeet that bitch overboard. 1 out of every 50 women have a third nipple, and 1 out of every 100 men do too. This is known as a supernumerary nipple, and Mark Wahlberg actually has one. Harry Styles has 2. Your baby foreskin can be used as replacement skin for burn victims. That means one can quite literally be a dick face. There are corn stars born in the year 2003. That's the same year The Cat in the Hat came out. Male fetuses get boners in the womb, and these can often be seen on ultrasounds. Motherfucker. After 49 people were killed at the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, cops were investigating the scene, and you'd think it'd be pretty quiet in there. But it was actually filled with sounds of ringing cell phones. Friends, family members, loved ones, calling the people that they knew were at Pulse and hoping they'd answer the phone and say they're okay.
This is what would happen if you stopped sleeping. After the first 24 hours, you would feel great, which is because early on, sleeplessness stimulates a part of your brain that causes you to feel happy and energetic. But not long after this 24-hour mark, you'll start to feel sluggish, be forgetful, and appear drunk to other people. After 2 full days of not sleeping, your body would appear to lose all its energy and feel like it's shutting down. Just because your body can't properly metabolize glucose without sleep. After 3 days, your skin would become pale, your eyes would become red, and you'll start to hallucinate, which means that your worst nightmares are going to appear real right in front of your eyes, kind of like sleep paralysis, but you're awake. And after 2 full weeks, your immune system would be so weak that the common cold would be enough to unalive you. And after 3 full weeks, there's a super high chance that you'll have a heart attack. But let me know, what was the longest you ever went without sleeping?
Most Scary Urban Legends, Part 9. This is La Mala Aura. She is a wicked spirit from New Mexico and wanders on roads at night. She attacks those who walk alone, and she is more feared than the devil itself. She first appears as a large black lump, constantly moving and changing shapes. She can also change size rapidly, growing larger or smaller. Anybody who makes eye contact with her gets driven insane. She also hypnotizes and paralyzes great speed, then wraps around you and suffocates you till you die. If you ever see her in human form, it means somebody you know or love is going to die. So if you see La Mala Aura and something terrible doesn't happen to you, it's going to happen to somebody you love.
How long a human would survive in Earth's eras? Precambrian era. Less than 5 minutes. Paleozoic era. Hours to a day. Mesozoic era.
I'm going to read you guys a story that is really fucked up, but this is just a reminder to be more scared of the living than the dead. When I was maybe 4 and my sister was 1, my parents had been divorced for a few months and my mom was driving us to Las Vegas to Wichita to see our grandparents. At one gas station on the way, this man came up to the car and told my mother, "I hate to see a single mother traveling alone and I noticed you were headed the same direction. Do you want me to follow you for a while to make sure you're safe?" She politely said no thanks and drove off. At our next stop for gas, he again came up to us in the guise of checking on us. He had been following us since the last stop. While he was talking to my mom, his sport coat blew open and I saw a gun tucked in his pants. After she again told the man we were fine, she left and I told her what I saw. While she was driving, she wrote a note to give to the next gas gas station attendant saying who we were, where we were planning on staying the night, and that this creepy dude was following us and what he looked like. Could you please call the law in and have them waiting at the hotel? When we got to the next stop, Mom raced in and handed the clerk the note and sped off with us. We got to the hotel and the manager had the cops waiting in one room and gave us another room with pizza and pop. The man showed up and asked if his wife and kids had checked in yet and what room they were in. The manager gave him the key to the one with the police in it. They questioned him and found out he was a convicted rapist and also had a warrant out, so he was arrested. Can you imagine what would have happened if that little girl hadn't seen that pew pew? Or if the mom was just like, oh, you were saying things that was nothing. Thank God that lady listened to her daughter.
Let's talk about something terrifying. So if you've seen a lot of my videos and you know that this is very unusual for me to be filming from my bed. And before I get into my own personal experience that happened a couple nights ago, I just know anyone else has experienced waking up in the middle of the night right before something weird happens. I don't know how else to explain it other than I woke up knowing that something was wrong or something was going to happen. And I was trying to calm myself down because I have terrible anxiety and I do not sleep very well, period. So I thought I was having a panic attack and tried to get myself to go back to sleep. I consistently have my TV running because I do not like silence. I do not like the dark. I like hearing noise because it makes me feel like I'm not by myself. Anyways, I'm trying to get myself to go back to sleep and I just cannot fall back to sleep. I'm like wide awake at 3:40 in the morning. And I have these vinyl records like hanging up in my room. They've been there for around 2.5, 3 years. And I've never had this issue before. So as I'm easing myself back into sleep and like trying to convince myself that there's nothing wrong and I just like woke up for no reason, one of my vinyls falls off the wall. So I'm sitting there thinking like, that's really weird. Maybe it's all the fans going on in my room because I have like 3 fans during the summertime and I'm still trying to get myself to go to sleep. Probably 15-20 minutes later, the freaking shelf that my vinyl was sitting on comes off the wall. Now, mind you, all of these little shelves are secured in the wall. Every single one of them has their own screws and anchors into the wall. And I don't know what it was. In that moment, I knew that I was awake for that reason. I don't know what it was. That's why I'm asking if people have had experiences like this that they just cannot explain. And this is also not the first time where I have woken up right before something weird happens or like something coincidental happens. And if you've been here a long time, then you know exactly what I'm about to say. I do not believe in coincidences like that. Take that as you will, but I do not believe in coincidences. But yeah, if anyone has experiences with stuff like that happening, please let me know because I tried telling other people about it and a lot of people were like, that's really weird.
Do you want to see a real-life ghost caught on camera? I'm originally from Indiana, but I'm in Louisiana right now. Louisiana is known to some of the most haunted places in America. Some of the worst voodoo in the world. Spells, curses, the list goes on. Behind me is the Myrtles Plantation. The Myrtles Plantation was built in 1796. It was home to a lot of slaves and at least 10 murders occurred here. One of the most infamous deaths was Chloe. This is the Myrtles Plantation at night, and Chloe was one of the many slaves who were homed here. An evil slave master by the name Clark Woodruff lived here at one point,
in the building.
and Chloe was one of his many slaves.
Their boss about you, and it's no one else like you is what they're getting. Positive vibes only. Shout out to King Saul's boss in the build about you, and it's no one else.
Him and his wife and his children would talk about Chloe. He would make up lies on her to give her a really hard time, and on one of these nights, she overheard him talking about her yet again. And he found out that she was actually listening in on his conversation, which angered him so badly. He was so upset. And as punishment, had her ears cut off. This is where the story takes a dark, dark, dark turn. It gets so scary. Because Chloe had her ears cut off, she decided to get revenge. Now, given the fact Chloe was a maid, she did a lot of work around the house. She would clean, cook dinner. One of Clark's children had a birthday coming up. This will play into the story in a moment. It was his daughter's birthday, and they wanted Chloe to make the cake. Chloe poisoned it. They didn't have a big party. It was just Clark and the family there. Him and his wife and his daughter all got severely sick, and they passed away. Somehow, everybody else in the neighborhood found out about this, and Chloe was sentenced to a hanging in the front yard on one of these 2 trees. Now, if you don't think this is a real ghost caught on camera, I don't know what is. Like I said, because Louisiana is known as one of the most haunted places in America, multiple ghost investigators have visited the Bernals plantation and have tried contacting Chloe, and she contacts back very well. This right here was a photo taken by, I believe, a ghost investigations team. If you look really closely, the house right here has lines on it. You see those lines going down? It's like the panels of the house. You can still see those lines in this apparition, as if she's see-through, because she obviously is a spirit. You can see the lines of the panels of the house right through her. Now, this photo has been looked over so many times. So many people have seen this photo of who they believe to be Chloe. And guess what? This is what the place looks like now, and I'm staying here in the next couple of weeks. There's about 5 to 7 bedrooms that you can stay in, but the most expensive room here is like $400-something. I cannot wait to stay here soon, and hopefully I capture some good paranormal evidence on camera. Really being held captive. If you love spooky and true crime content, follow me.
We're gonna pretend it's Halloween, okay? Thank you. Oh my god, Burr, it's not hot as fuck outside in Texas. Actually, it's not that bad today. It's 86 degrees. It's been raining like crazy outside. Perfect mood for scary stories. Just in case you wanted to know what they were, they're crosses. So this guy says that when he was 20 years old, he would usually stay really late out with his friends and he wouldn't come home until like 2 or 3 in the morning. On this particular night, he was again hanging out with his friends and they dropped him off down the street around 2 in the morning. He explains how he was always used to the streets being so quiet, everybody being silent, like there was no noise, and that's exactly what it was that night as well. He finally gets to the front door of his house and he's looking in his pockets for the key, and when he finds it, he's about to open the door and he feels a hand on his shoulder. He quickly turns around because obviously he didn't expect anybody to touch him in the shoulder or to be out in the streets, and he realizes that it's his elderly neighbor, and this lady works as helping women give like home birth. I forgot the specific word for people who do these. Is it a midwife? I think. Let me know if I'm wrong. Seeing that it's his neighbor, he obviously relaxed a little bit, but he notices that she's carrying around this really big pumpkin in her hands. The lady tells the guy, "Can you give this pumpkin to your mom? Tell her that it's from me." Obviously, he says yes, gets the pumpkin, and then tells her good night and goes inside his house. When he walks into the house, everything is dark and everybody's asleep, so he just goes and leaves the pumpkin on the table, and then he goes to his room to go to sleep. The following morning, he gets woken up because his mom is screaming at him from the kitchen, yelling for him to get up. He literally runs downstairs because he thinks something is wrong, like something's happening, and he's thinking the worst, like did somebody break in, what's going on? So he runs down there to the kitchen where his mom is. When he gets to the kitchen, he looks at his mom, and his mom is looking annoyed and really pissed off. She's looking at him and saying, "What is this? Last night we went to bed after dinner and this was not on the table. What happened here?" So as she's asking all these questions, he's literally looking at the table because he's not believing what he's seeing. He was still looking at the pumpkin that the lady had brought, but this pumpkin was rotten. There was like worms coming out of it, but that's not what he remembered last night. I mean, he held on to that pumpkin. It was solid. It wasn't spoiled. There was no smell. So he just doesn't know what to make of this. He explained to his mom what happened last night with the neighbor, and he got a little bit mad because she was getting mad at him. So he was like, "Well, why don't you go ask the neighbor why this pumpkin is rotten? Why are you asking me for it? She told me to bring it to you, and it wasn't rotten when she gave it to me. She told me to give it to you, that it was from her, so why don't you go and ask her about it?" The mom wasn't understanding like what neighbor, who told you to give this to me, so he repeated, the neighbor, the elderly lady, the one who helps the women give birth. Said that his mom got like this really weird look on her face and got mad at him again, and she was like, "Stop saying dumb things. That lady died 2 weeks ago. Who are you talking about?" He had no idea that this lady had passed away, but he kept reassuring his mom that that's the lady who gave him the pumpkin, and honestly they never figured out why that lady gave the pumpkin, why he saw her even though she had died. Like, they are still confused about the entire situation. But what do you guys think? Why would that lady give his mom the pumpkin and then it went rotten? Like, I don't know. That doesn't seem good to me.
I have another creepy
about you, and it's no one else like you is what they're getting. Positive vibes only.
International news.
Shout out to King Saul's boss and the bill about you.
Getting married, and she's getting married in London. When the couple see the prices of what it will cost them to stay in the place where they're getting married, they're like, that's just kind of out of our budget. And so they ask the bride, where is a good place to stay? And she says, anywhere on the Central Line. And the couple realise the further they get out into Essex on the Central Line, the cheaper the prices are. And where's the last place in the Central Line? Epping. They decide to stay in like a lodge, B&B type thing in Epping. Arrive on the day of their stay, and immediately they are like overwhelmed by the history of the place. It's like 300-400 years old. The person shows them to their room and immediately there's a smell. It smells old. It smells dusty, musty, but not the problem. They are a couple. They ask for a couple's room, but all that was available are these 2 twin beds. And so they make the best of that situation. They do experience a few problems, like they can't get the hot water to work, so they have to have cold showers. But when they go and get the staff come up and the water is working fine, like there's nothing wrong with it. The next thing they have is when they're actually trying to go to sleep, the room is constantly too hot or too cold. And they said it's almost like they were freezing and shivering the whole time, to the point where they thought maybe we're coming down with something, because the next minute they'd be dripping sweat. It was like they just couldn't get the room to heat up in the right way. Then most annoyingly, as soon as they get into bed and they turn the lights off, there is such a gap underneath the door, or where the floorboards are not quite straight because they're old, that the whole light they can see in their room, and it's making it extremely bright. And so they go to the staff and they say, is it okay if we turn that light off? And the staff are like, yeah, but the only thing is it's the motion detector light, so realistically it will only go off if somebody walks past. The couple was like, well, it must be broken then, because it's been on the whole time. So hotel staff agree to just turn it off by the main, so at that point there is no electricity outside at all. They settle back in their bed and finally it's completely dark. They fall asleep, and it was hard to fall asleep because they're shivering, sweating, alternating. And then at 3 a.m. the wife is awoken because the light outside the room has gone back on, and she can't believe it. She's furious at this time. She's only just fallen back to sleep. She realised that her husband is already sitting on the end of the bed putting his shoes on, and she thinks, okay, cool, he's got it sorted. And so she says to her husband, God, how annoying. I just finally drifted off. And he agrees. So she's looking at her husband, expecting him to stand up and leave the room, go and speak to the staff, but he doesn't. He just sits there, frozen. She says, "Is everything okay? You're gonna go?"
Man, who's in the
and he says,
building,
"No,
man?
I don't want to
Chop
get my
the sauce,
shoes
the
on. I don't want to
boss,
go
of
and walk
course,
out there
man.
cold. I can't be bothered. I'm just going to stay like this with my head in my pillow." And she says, "What do you mean with your head in your pillow?"
What are you talking about?
And she looks across, and her husband is laying with his back to her at the wall with his head in his pillow. And she looks back at the man at the end of the bed with his boots on. And she closes her eyes and she screams. And her husband sits up, and by the time she opens her eyes, the man with the boots is gone. 0 stars on TripAdvisor. 0 stars. I want my money back, and I will go to a travel lodge next time.
This woman was literally so fat that she sat on her 10-year-old foster child and unalived him. And I'm not for body shaming, but this woman is an absolute monster, so we are going to make fun of the fat, ugly pig that she is. This is the story of how Jennifer Wilson unalived a 10-year-old boy named Dakota Stevens. I do want to give a trigger warning right away that this video does involve the unaliving of a minor. Please take care of yourself. Your mental health matters. Also, just a disclaimer that I'm just a girl. I am not a lawyer, and all this information is publicly available. In April of 2024, in Valparaiso, Indiana, first responders discovered a 10-year-old boy named Dakota Stevens unresponsive. Dakota had been placed into foster care just about a month earlier, and surveillance footage revealed that Jennifer Lee Wilson, his 48-year-old foster mom, sat on Dakota's chest for about 5 minutes as a punishment for acting bad. According to the affidavit, she believed he was faking how much pain he was in. I mean, look at the size of this woman. She weighed 340 pounds. She could sit on an elephant and it wouldn't be able to breathe or talk and say how much pain it was in. A neighbor had witnessed Dakota running to other houses in their neighborhood, asking to be adopted and claiming that he was being hit by his foster parents. This child was asking for help. He was crying for help. After Dakota was sat on by his fat-ass foster mom, she got up and realized that he was blue and unresponsive, so the police were called. Dakota was airlifted to a hospital and passed away just 2 days later from his injuries. This incident was ruled a homicide from mechanical asphyxia, and Dakota weighed just about 90 pounds at the time, while Wilson weighed 3,000 pounds. Just kidding. She weighed 340 pounds. But a 340-pound woman has no business sitting on a 90-pound child. I just want to make sure we're all clear on that. So Jennifer admitted to the act and pleaded guilty to reckless homicide in October of 2024. In January of 2025, she was sentenced to only 6 years in prison. She should be serving 340 years if you were to ask me. Dakota was described in his obituary as a child who, quote, loved the outdoors and, quote, marched to the beat of his own drum. He was remembered as bright, free-spirited, and deeply loved. Obviously, online reports of this case were immediate and fierce. People online said, quote, "Poor little guy didn't have a chance. I want to see accountability from CPS," end quote, while many users criticized the justice system, saying, quote, "That's not justice for that," end quote, and questioned how such cruelty could only lead to just a 6-year sentence. Again, I am wondering that same thing. How in the world did she only get 6 years? She should be behind bars for life. Dakota's unaliving calls attention to failures in foster care and how a child's cries can go unheard. Let me know what you think on this case. Do you think it was reckless homicide, a failure of the system, or just human cruelty? I post true crime videos, so if you like this type of content, follow so you don't miss my next video, and please stay safe out there. You never know what's right around the corner.
I have another creepy story about Epping Forest. This one is from a girl who used to go to school with somebody who lives on Hangman's Hill. If you don't know what Hangman's Hill is, it's basically a paranormal hill where you go, you park, you put your car in neutral, and your car will be pulled uphill. And apparently it's an executionist, a hangman, and he's pulling you towards the hanging tree where you will meet your maker. So this girl starts at their school and she's very shy, she doesn't have many friends, and she goes out of her way to make friends with this girl. One night she invites her over for a sleepover with some other girls. Total there is 5 of them, and she just says that the family was strange. They didn't seem to have any warmth within their home. There was no like friendly conversation, there was no casual conversation. Nobody acknowledged that their daughter or their sister was having a sleepover. It was just like these random girls were in their house and they were all going about their business around them. It was weird. About 12 o'clock, when it's pitch black outside, her mum, her dad, and her 2 other sisters come down and say they're going for a walk. All the girls are looking at each other like, this is really strange. Like, what kind of family goes for a walk at 12 midnight? Their friend says that she's not going, and straight away they can sense this isn't a good thing. So the mum gives her a look, and suddenly their friend has changed her mind. She stands up and she walks, and they all go for a family walk at midnight. Whilst the family is out, the girls experience strange stuff happening. They hear doors opening upstairs, and there is nobody in the house apart from the girls that are in the front room. They hear what sounds like marbles being thrown down the stairs, like they can hear coming down the stairs, cascade of marbles. They are all in dead silence. None of them want to speak. They've turned the TV off so that they can hear all of these strange noises. These girls are 12 years old. They hear floorboards creaking, and a few of them scream out because they say that they felt like somebody whispered something into their ears. When the family finally get back from their gallivant at midnight in the forest, the girls are petrified and they tell their friend about all the weird noises that they've heard in her house. And she doesn't seem bothered at all. In fact, their friend seems almost like in a comatose state. Her eyes are black. Completely black. One of the girls goes to use the toilet, and in the hallway she is met by the little sister, and the little sister is just standing there, not doing anything, just looking straight ahead. She doesn't even move out of the narrow hallway for the friend to pass. So the friend accidentally kind of nudges as she goes to get past, and she doesn't budge, not at all. She just stands there, and that's when she notices that the little sister also has the same black eyes. At this point, all of the little girls just want to go home. So they start texting their mums and dads saying, please, please come and get us. They all make their excuses and they ask their friend for the address, but she won't give it to them. They don't know where they are. They're just kids, and they got collected from school by her dad. One of the little girls starts crying and begging her friend to give them the address, and eventually the mum and dad come into the room to see what all the commotion is. And after about 2 or 3 minutes, the mum and dad actually agree to drive the girls home. They just were not going to give their address out. You had a guest over, a child, and they wanted to go home. You would give the address straight away. Apparently, when the dad was driving home, he was talking about how selfish the girls are. And he even started to recite something that sounded like the Bible. Okay, listen, I know that most of the people that live around Hangman's Hill are probably completely normal people. Went there the other day. Saw a woman with a buggy. Didn't look right, okay? 4 of us saw it. Didn't look right. On that note, I shouldn't have gone there. I don't think any of us should be going there. There are people's houses there. I don't want to be spearheading any paranormal tourism. It's not right. We shouldn't do it, particularly residential areas. And if you are going to go to Epping Forest, clean up after yourselves. Should go without saying. And anyway, if you don't, it's not me you're going to have to answer to, is it? It's not me.
Shout out to
me you're gonna have
Sauce
to
the
answer
Boss,
to.
of course, man. Who's in the
Imagine
building,
seeing
man?
your mom
Shout out to Sauce the
after she
Boss,
passed.
of course.
About you, and it's no
Story
one
time, get
else
ready.
like you is what they're getting.
Following
Positive
along,
vibes
Feminine Anonymous
only.
sent me this story, and
Shout
I'm
out to
gonna
King
call it
Sauce
My
Boss
Mom.
in the building.
For the sake of
About
the
you,
story,
and
we're
it's
gonna
no
call
one
her Lisa.
else like
Lisa says that in 2021, her mom passed away and she had to go and live with her aunt. And she says that everything was fine until it wasn't. And soon after she moved in, she started to see a lot of poltergeist activity. She would hear a lot of loud noises, things falling on the floor, doors slamming. It was just a lot of things that she hadn't experienced before. One day, she's just relaxing and she hears this loud noise. So she goes and she checks and she thinks it's coming from the kitchen. So she goes to check what that noise was in the kitchen, and the stove burner is on and all the cabinets are open. So one night she's getting ready to fall asleep. She's in her bed, she's relaxed, and she's facing towards her bedroom. Her wall is on her back. So she says that again, she's just chilling there and she clearly hears heavy breathing. She opens her eyes and she clearly sees two little white eyes just staring right at her. She turns on the flash on her phone, and of course, whatever was there is no longer there. It's gone. She does say that she was very exhausted that day, so she's kind of like, maybe it was my imagination. After a few days, she completely forgets about it. So one random day, she gets home, she wants to relax, so she goes to her bedroom, and then she sees a note on her bed. She goes and she checks the note, and the note says, "I'm here." You already know what I'm going to say. Hell no. And Lisa says that after that, she started having really scary dreams about her mom. And she swears that she is not crazy, but she swears that she started seeing her mom in really random places. She would see her like at school, or if she was shopping at the store, she'd just like see her like just really weird. And she swears that to this day, she still sees her. What do you guys think? Thank you so much to Lisa for sending me this spooky story. If you guys have any other stories that you'd like for me to read, please send them via DM or email, and I'd love to read them. And I will see you guys in the next spooky story. Bye!
It's so tragic. They literally had everything to look forward to, a new baby, a fresh start. But suddenly a murder and a huge manhunt for the wrong man. Then there was another death that nobody was expecting. Honestly, buckle up for a lot of twists and turns in this case. The evening of the 23rd of October, 1989, Charles Stewart and his wife, Carol, seemed to have this picture-perfect life. They both had amazing jobs. They were married. They seemed to be happy to the outside world. And Carol was actually 7 months pregnant with their first baby. They had this like amazing home in the suburbs. Honestly, it was like the American dream. On the night in question, they were actually heading home from a childbirth class at the local hospital in Boston when tragedy struck. Charles frantically called the police begging for help. He cried out on the phone, "My wife's been shot and I've been shot." He said, "Oh man, it hurts and my wife has stopped gurgling. She stopped breathing." Police and ambulance obviously raced to the scene, desperate to try and save the lives of not only this poor innocent woman, but also her unborn child. Although they were initially able to save the premature baby, the baby did then die just 17 days later. Charles was also shot, like I said, but his injuries were not life-threatening. So police knew that he was kind of the key to trying to solve this case and figuring out who the hell did it. They were desperate to find out who was responsible for A, such a brutal killing, and B, why would they have done this? So they got as much info as they possibly could off Charles. Now, he said they'd been sat in the car when a black man in a tracksuit carjacked them and robbed them. So immediately they've got a motive. It's obviously like a robbery gone wrong, but it didn't really explain why the man felt the need to shoot them both. And also, I know this sounds bad, but like, why didn't he kill Charles too? Because obviously he's leaving a witness. And locals were absolutely terrified of this seemingly random gunman on the loose. The police presence in the town just like ramped up massively. There was always constantly loads and loads of police officers just patrolling, helping the community to feel safe. And a massive manhunt was underway for this guy. But something was off. Carol's friends actually came forward to police to tell them that they felt like her marriage to Charles wasn't actually as happy as Charles had made out. Charles had been constantly moaning about her just prior to her death and had even joked that they should try and kill her But he was sticking to his story like glue, and he even actually pointed the finger at a local man called Willie Bennett and caused him to be arrested for the murder. And police were really confused. Like, was the husband lying? Was he telling the truth? Who was the real killer? And Charles was so adamant that this Willie was to blame that he even had these like strong physical reactions when he saw him in a police lineup. Then in the January after, Charles's brother came forward with a shocking confession. Brother Matthew stated that he had been involved in Carol's murder, but he said he hadn't realized it was going to be a murder. Matthew said that he was supposed to be involved in a jewelry insurance scam to earn some money. He said that his brother had got him in on this, and on the murder, Matthew said he met the brother Charles and he was given a Gucci bag with Carol's jewelry and a gun, which he then threw into the river. That was like his role in this. Matthew insisted to police that he had no idea that his brother was going to kill the wife, but no one knew if this was really the truth. Was Matthew kind of coming forward now?
It's his birthday. Everybody wish him happy birthday.
Oh, this is big right here, y'all. Everybody wish Sauce, the official boss, happy birthday, man. Let's go. Let's see it in the timeline.
Oh, man. We're back once again.
I like to...
You know, it's a beautiful day.
I like to wish...
Feeling down, just
Sauce.
Get you a bag of that. Just light up.
I like to wish
King Fire, Mr. Head
Sauce the
Ride.
boss.
Can't greet him with two, only the third eye. Killer Vision, PS,
I like to give a big shout out to Happy Boy.
Let me on this track. Accident to opera O's. Conscious, unconscious. Flow riding on my train. Denzel, Chris Pine, unstoppable. Albert Einstein.
I like to give a big happy
Imagination is
birthday
more
to
important than knowledge, therefore I'm flying
Sauce
off
the
the
boss.
tracks. Extraterrestrial blunt, I got it on my lap. When I land, so train line, hop up on my dad. They fear what they don't understand. I forgive them cause they don't really know no better. Hope let them walk on water. I'm dancing in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean with a polo sweater. How bad do you want success? I was holding my breath unconsciously. The conscious me woke up and came up for air. I turned 136 to the bomber there. Dancing with chopped, I guaranteed them in the dreams. Fire miss, Mr. Clean. Dirty talk, come shots, Listerine. The devil tried to catch me slipping, but my third eye open. I see when I don't look. 40 growing out the ground. The reason the coke, the pressure coming.
to give a big shout to Boyce
You can
Roseboro.
count on the fingerless hand how many people
His
I can
choice been
trust.
thorough.
The wordplay insane. Meditate, bring
like to
down
say, hey,
hate
girl.
brain with no passengers
To
on
J,
it.
girl.
Facing the blunt, putting mileages on the Pusha T attitude, cutting ways, malices wasn't on it. I stayed to myself, I'm known as the cool kid. Come to the moolah, G's on his head like a school day.